It's the plot of Megamind. Kinda. Way back when, in the mid-1980s, writer J.M. DeMatteis pitched a story in which part-time Avenger Wonder Man was killed by his half-brother, the Grim Reaper, only to claw his way out of his grave and defeat his would-be murderer. Marvel Comics turned it down. A few years pass and DeMatteis pitches the story to DC Comics featuring Batman versus the Joker, and DC rejects it. He reworks it and puts Hugo Strange in the Joker role, makes it more about a psychological battle of wits, leading to one of them eventually ending up in the grave, but they still said no. Third-ish attempt being the charm, he shopped the story one last time to Marvel Comics as a Spider-Man versus Kraven the Hunter in a Final Stand-esque epic. And they picked it up. Kraven's Last Hunt was born! We've already talked about it here on Big Damn Love. One of the most celebrated Spider-Man stories and a damn fine tale in its own right. In fact, it went down so well that DC Comics were like, "Hey, DeMatteis! You alright, mate? Do you want to maybe, come back and do that story you wanted to do? Because, we know we got a slot now, we got time, we got the paper. If you want to, write it down."
Not actually an accurate representation of the negotiation, I might add.
So, in 1994, in issues 65 to 68 of Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, the world finally got to read the Gotham version of this tale, starring the Caped Crusader and his most notorious foe, the Joker, going sane. After a massive terror attack during a parade through Park Ridge, the Joker has left many dead and injured in an explosion, before capping it all off with a night on the town, accompanied by the terrified Gotham councilwoman, Elizabeth Kenner. Batman, finally pushed to breaking point by the Clown Prince of Crime's lunacy and murderous antics, rushes into dealing with him head-on, his mind full of rage and anger, which leads to the unthinkable. Caught in another explosion caused by the Joker, Batman is no more, and a gleeful Mr. J dumps his body into the river, saunters back into town, joyously celebrating the Dark Knight's demise, before realising that after all this time, he's finally achieved his goals. So, what now? Skipping ahead a wee while, Joseph, a lover of old-school comedies and 1940s style, is settling into his new Gotham apartment. He's looking for work, collecting Burns and Allen tapes, and generally being a swell guy when he runs into his neighbour, Rebecca Brown, and a romance blossoms almost right away. Councilwoman Kenner is ranting and raving on the news about Captain Gordon's GCPD doing nothing to locate the Joker, who clearly must be in hiding and planning another attack on innocent citizens, whilst Alfred Pennyworth is amongst many Gothamites who are racked with worry over the absence of the Batman in recent weeks. Poor Joseph starts having recurring nightmares of clowns and winged demons drowning him in laughter, tearing at his soul, but as long as he has Rebecca and keeps up his regular meds for his anxiety and his rare skin condition, he'll be okay. He's happy, after all. So why is he afraid of laughing too hard? Meanwhile, in the small village of Accord, several miles outside of Gotham, a mysterious John Doe patient, affectionately named Lazarus by the doctor who found him, is on his way to recovery, because there's a madman on the loose, and his city needs him. Fun stuff! Bruce's admiration for the small town life and his new ally, Lynn, the doctor who takes care of him, brings him back to Earth. It's the thing that sort of calms him down again, after getting a little too lost in his Batman crusade lately, which has been a risk to his health, physical and mental, specifically his sanity. See, sort of it's like polar opposites, relates to the title. And it puts things back into perspective for him, even though he convinces himself that he will never have this kind of life that Lynn has out in this small town, this sort of peaceful existence. You can tell from the inner monologues in the book that he secretly wishes that one day he could get there. Gordon and Alfred's worry being mostly silent. There is barely any dialogue spoken in this book by either of those characters, as one switches on the bat signal on the roof of the GCPD, and the other returns often to the cave, both to be disappointed that the Batman is nowhere to be seen, night after night, not a single sign of him being safe or even alive. It really shows just how big a part of each other's lives they are without knowing it. Like, they never really meet, and yet there's this one thing connecting them both that means that they are completely in the same boat. It's a nice bit of character work. Oh, Rebecca Brown. Poor, sweet Rebecca Brown. She's a quirky lady. She's very sweet, very caring, and clearly born in the wrong era. You know when people say, like, oh, I should have been born in the 70s because I like the music. Like, she's clearly a child of the silent movie era, unfortunately born in the present day, probably mid-90s. But her fairy tale romance with arguably her perfect catch, was never, ever going to have a happy ending. The only saving grace, really, is she survives the experience enough to narrate parts of the tale. But I'm not saying anything else. This story can live or die for each individual reader based on your own interpretation of the Joker. It's always been hard to tell if the character is truly insane and cannot control his own actions, or if he's fully aware of everything and is just a downright nasty piece of work. Batman clearly hopes it's the former, because what good would banging him up in Arkham Asylum every time he commits a crime do, unless he believes that there's a shred of humanity inside him somewhere, no matter how deeply buried. For me, despite stories like The Killing Joke and everything, my personal interpretation of the Joker has always been similar to what Paul Dini and Bruce Timm believed in the animated series, like with Mask of the Phantasm, and what Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo pulled off in Zero Year. I believe the Joker was always a nasty piece of work. He was a horrible man with a bit of a screw loose, but ultimately was just a nasty individual, and becoming the Joker sort of freed him up. Like, made him go, I could be more creative with my horrible ways. I like the idea of him being a tragic comedian put through a horrific incident, loss and tragedy and everything. That's a good idea, it's a good story, but even in The Killing Joke, they make a point of saying, like, sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. So what I always interpreted that as what we're seeing is just one version in his head that he's decided. Like, because with Mad Love, that's the thing, you never know if he's telling the truth. With Mad Love, which again, animated series, but, you know, it's sort of roughly what happens in the comic universe when Harley Quinn's introduced as well. In Mad Love, Batman points out to Harley that he's got like multiple stories, like he tells it differently every time. So, for all we know, Killing Joke, that's him playing with us as readers, saying, yeah, this is my backstory. So I always kind of like the idea of him just being a nasty piece of work, like in Mask of the Phantasm, like in the Batman, the 1989 movie, which contradicts this story somewhat, because in this tale, minor spoilers, you probably already figured it out, Joseph Kerr is what happens when the Joker has no more Batman to kill. Like, he sort of gets depressed and becomes normal and wants to be normal and tries to be normal and falls in love and has a nice life and enjoys his silent comedy nights and chilling out and everything, like, and trying to stay away as much as he can from going that way again. Which is an odd thought, because if he is insane, then maybe that's something that's happened. Batman was his psychosis, which furthers the idea that Batman creates his villains. However, if it's the Joker I like to interpret, then this means that he's trolling, I guess. Like, or maybe he's finally tired. It gets me thinking, maybe it means, if it's my Joker, where he's a nasty person already, and the Joker's just something that helps him be nastier, like that identity and everything, then that would imply that the going sane in this is either him playing one horrible elaborate prank, but the inner monologue suggests that it's all real. So maybe he got so lost in all of his nonsense that when he finally kills Batman, he's like, oh God, I've run out of nasty things to do. I guess I have to be normal now? But it implies that he is slightly insane. What I'm basically saying is this book is a damn interesting interpretation that's going to play with your own headcanon of who the Joker is. I've just had a thought, actually. So if my Joker is sane person who's just nasty, then this story is him going insane. Finally, he's going insane because, like, he's finished what he wanted to do and now he doesn't know what to do with himself and he goes nuts. Oh my God! So it works both ways. Going sane could mean turning back into the Joker, and going insane. This is unscripted, in case you're wondering. This has just hit me. The book has some excellent artwork from Joe Staton and Steve Mitchell. And what's really upsetting is that Joseph Kerr is a warm character. Even though you as the reader are like, that's the Joker. That's him. He's still a nice guy and he's troubled and you want him to do well. You want him to feel better and not be tormented. And you want him and Rebecca to settle down. At the same time, part of your brain's going, Rebecca, get out of there. He's going to snap. He's going to change back. But yeah, it's also a great choice to focus on the Joker's love of vintage comedy. Like, he references his heroes during the kidnap of Councilwoman Kenner, where they're at the theatre. The theatre's constantly brought up. It's what him and Rebecca bond over, like Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy. But it's also like techniques he employs when he's terrorising people in the parade at the beginning. It's disturbing, but a really nice character choice, because the Joker isn't really bad. That's not him. Like, he spats and zoot suits and he's classy. Again, that's up to interpretation, but my Joker's a classy broad. It makes a great follow-up to Kraven's Last Hunt. If you check that out after my last comic book episode, then this is a nice accompaniment, a dessert, if you will. So I've linked down below to the Amazon copy. Unfortunately, it appears to be very expensive and hard to come by in hard copies online. So get searching your bookstores for this, and, you know, if you're savvy enough, I'm sure you'll find it digitally as well. As per usual, let's talk about Going Sane in the comments below. Do you want to know more about it? Have you read it? Let's talk. And also, I want to hear what your favourite Batman and Joker story is. Could be an obvious choice, could be a little-known gem left of field that not many people have heard about. Tell me about it down below. And Matt will see you next week for another Big Damn Love. It's my love head. What?